What are you doing down here in the realm of the month? Just pick an eye, babe.
So I appreciate that one. I mean, it's quite funny, but it does make me want to talk about angels and cherubs and seraphs. Sorry about my voice, but I am getting better. So, first of all, the living creatures are cherubs in Ezekiel 1 and Revelation 4 and 5 that I think they're trying to depict in that picture. I think it would look more like this with the eagle face at the back, which it's kind of hard to get all four faces in there. But also, this is like, these creatures are always around God's throne. Like, they're not the ones that are going to come and give you a message from God. And thirdly, I think they're probably metaphorical, to be honest. And let me show you why I think that. In Revelation 5, starting in verse 8, when he took the scroll, Jesus, the 4 living creatures and the 24 elders fell down before the Lamb. That's how Jesus was appearing at this point. Each one having harps and golden bowls full of incense, which are the prayers of the saints. And they sing a new song, saying, "Worthy are you to receive the scroll and to open its seals, because you were slain, you were killed, and by your blood you purchased us to God out of every tribe and tongue and people and nation, and made us kings and priests to our God, and we shall reign over the earth." So, who's singing this? The 4 living creatures and the 24 elders. So these are all metaphorical for God's people that he purchased to God out of every tribe and tongue and nation. So you have your 24 elders is like the 12 from Israel and the 12 from the church. And then the 4 living creatures, I think, is like people that are maybe closer to God. That's my theory. I don't know. And possibly, I think those cherubs, those living creatures, are representing the same thing as the seraphs in Isaiah 6. Seraph just means burning ones. Cherub, Strong's didn't know what it was, but I did look it up in Google Translate, spelled the same way in the Hebrew, and they said cabbage. So apparently the thing that stands out to them about cherubs is that they have the wings covering themselves like a cabbage. The angels that show up to tell you things almost always look like people. And in the Bible, they always looked like men. In fact, sometimes they would interchange in the same story the word angel and the word man. And I'll probably talk about that more later today. But I like this kind of stuff. It's interesting to me. So continuing on from this morning, I was saying, like, the angels that show up to give you a message in the Bible, they always show up looking like men. And the Bible often uses the word man interchangeably with angel in stories that talk about angels. So I'm going to show you an example in Genesis 18 and 19 here. Let's just look at 19. So the 2 angels came into Sodom at evening, and Lot was sitting in the gate. And you guys know this story, and if you don't, you can read it. So there it calls them angels, right? And the people of Sodom said, "Where are the men who came to you tonight?" So clearly they looked like men. And then down here, it says the men put out their hands and pulled Lot in to the house and shut the door to rescue him from the people. And then it says they struck the men at the door with blindness. Okay. Anyways, so you can see how it calls them angels and then it calls them men. Interesting to me, the Hebrew word that's used for men, because they have a few different words for man in Hebrew. And this one, Enosh, that we get the word Enos from, Enoshim, that one actually means like mortal. So that kind of raises a lot of questions for me. Okay, in Daniel 8, he said, "Behold, the form of a man stood before me, the appearance of a man." This word, geber, is like a warrior, like a valiant man, and it's actually in his name. So he heard the man call this guy Gabriel, which we know he's an angel. And his name, this word for man is actually in his name. His name means man of God, but it's a valiant man, a warrior of God, is what his name means. So there, Gabriel is called a man. And then in Daniel 9:21, while I was setting my prayer in order, then the man Gabriel, whom I had seen in the vision at the beginning. So this one is Ish, which is your normal word for just a male person. And in Luke 1:26, we see the same guy, but it calls him an angel. The angel Gabriel was sent by God to talk to Mary. So here we're in the Greek. And both this word angelos, which is where we borrow our word angel from, and the Hebrew word malak, they both literally just mean messenger. So in Hebrew and in Greek, they would say messenger. It's the same word you use for a human messenger. And specifically, they would say God's messengers, like the angels of God. Okay, I'm going to try to finish up what I want to say about angels. So the only Hebrew word that I haven't found for man, that I haven't found applied to angels, is the Adam word, the word that we get the name Adam from, which is the one that means human being. And it has to do with being made from the earth and being reddish. It's actually their word for red, too. It's related to their word for red. And then Greek words that are used for men when they talk about angels. I want to show you in Mark 16:5, when they came into the tomb, Jesus' empty tomb, they saw a young man sitting on the right, having been clothed in white, right? This word, it just means a youth, like someone that's under 40, and it's the masculine. Yeah, he was clothed in a white robe. This one in Luke 24, same situation. 2 men stood by in shining clothes. This word, Andres, is just a man as an individual male person. In Acts 1:10, same thing, Andres. But look at 2 men. This is when Jesus went up into heaven and they were standing there just staring at him after he went into the sky. 2 men in white stood by them and said, they told them, he's coming back, but you need to go do something, right? But I like that, men in white. I don't know if you guys have seen Men in Black, but men in white. So you know how in English, like in the King James, it says the Lord of hosts? Like a lot of times in the Old Testament, it calls him that. And it just means like Yahweh of masses of servants or warriors or warriors. Like hosts is like masses of servants or warriors. And so he has Gabriel as his famous messenger and Michael as the famous warrior. But he has, you can't count how many angels he has. And they're shown doing all kinds of things for God's people, from cooking food to leading armies, striking enemies with blindness, just to name a few off the top of my head at the time I was writing this down. Like they do a lot of things, and he has twice as many as the devil, because the devil only took 1/3 when he left heaven, when he fell. And then I want to show you in Hebrews 1:14. Hebrews 1:14 says, are they not all, that talking about angels, he's been talking about angels for a while here, they're here to benefit us. We're the ones who are about to inherit God's help. So that's what they're for.